Hey everyone, Andrew back again and welcome to another video, and today's Saturday, so I'm back with another slasher review as part of the HORRORmans Slashback Slasher Challenge series, and I really cannot believe it. We're pretty much halfway through this year already, so we're halfway through this challenge and it's pretty crazy, but I've had a ton of fun with the first half of this yearly challenge and I definitely cannot wait to see what topics are ahead of us for the second half. So yeah, already halfway through, wow. But anyway, this week's theme was another interesting one. It was Slasher Plus. So what that means is Joe wanted us to review a movie that may not be a traditional slasher. So it could have a mix mash of genres within the film, or it could be a movie that we consider to be a slasher but other people don't, or vice versa. So this topic took a little bit of thought from me, but I am pretty happy with the movie that I've come up with, and I do feel, at least for myself, that it does fit into this theme, and that is Children of the Corn. So people that know me, that are familiar with my channel for a few years, will know that I'm a big fan of this film. So I probably don't really have too much to say about the movie overall, and plus it's a really common film that I'm sure most of you have seen before, but I'm more going to focus on this movie and how I feel about this film to do with this particular topic, the Slasher Plus. So for those who haven't seen it, a quick rundown of the plot. This one centers around a young preacher, Isaac. He's basically infiltrated a small town of Gatlin in America, and he's basically brainwashed these children within the town to murder all the adults, kill off their parents, and follow him and this supernatural god, he who walks behind the rose. So that's pretty much the storyline to this one. Now we'll get on to my thoughts. So, big fan of this movie, always have. It was one of the earlier horror movies that I could remember watching, and during high school I was super addicted to this franchise as a whole. So while I love the original film, the franchise, while most of the movies aren't great, they're definitely guilty pleasures for me. So yeah, I'm not only a fan of the original, but I'm a pretty big fan of the franchise overall. But anyway, we're not really here to talk about the franchise, we're here to talk about the original film. So I love this movie, I love the whole setting behind it, I like the small town. It's got a really creepy vibe to it, a abandoned vibe obviously, because all the adults have gone and it's just these group of cult-like children. I love the cult storyline, how one young preacher boy has come into town, brainwashed a whole town of children to kill off not only the adults but their own parents, which is pretty scary in itself. And yeah, I just really like that aspect of the film. Sure, some of the acting is pretty cheesy, it's definitely a product of its time, but I absolutely love it. So big fan of this movie. And why do I think it fits this particular topic or theme? Well, I often go back and forth as to whether I consider this movie to be a slasher or not. It's very interesting in that aspect. Now, kind of the beginning of the film where you see some of the adults at the diner getting killed off, that's where the slasher elements come into play. But other than that, it's not a traditional slasher because you don't really have one single killer picking off a group of people throughout the film. It's not really like that. You just have some scenes of the killings at the beginning of the film, and then there's one or two kills later on. So that's where I kind of go back and forth. It definitely has an underlying slasher tone or storyline to the film, but it's not a traditional slasher. And it does incorporate a lot of other elements into the film as well. Like as I already mentioned, it has the cold aspect with the children, and then it's got a lot of supernatural elements to do with their god that they believe in, he who walks behind the rose, who's definitely a supernatural entity because you never actually see the god throughout the film. It's just kind of played through, I guess, visions that Isaac experiences out in the cornfield. So I definitely, for me personally, feel this one fits into the theme. While it does have the underlying storyline, I guess, of being a slasher, it's certainly not a traditional one. So Do I consider this one to be a slasher or not? I'm still not sure. Kind of and kind of not. I will say though, I definitely consider most of the sequels to be more of slashers than the original film, especially part 2. I consider part 2 to be a slasher, but yeah, even after reviewing this movie and thinking about it a lot, I'm still not sure whether I consider this one to be a slasher or not, but I know a lot of people do. So yeah, that's my review for Children of the Corn. Big fan of this movie, and another pretty interesting topic. So guys, if you've seen this, let me know what you think of it. Do you consider this one to be a slasher, or do you not, or do you sit somewhere in the middle? Anyway, that's it for this week's slasher review. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next week when I'm back with another one, thank you for watching.